We're all feeling a lot of things.
Yep.
And each of us needs some resolve. Will should have won the competition. Until Skull cheated.
Nathaniel, how could you possibly know that?
I've been conning these animals all my life. I can spot a cheat from a mile away. Trust me, he cheated. Will was right. He was the best, and he should have won. We're going to take Skull down.
Hello, you rich people. Welcome to the competition and bet to your heart's content.
At an underground assassin tournament, elite marksmen from all over the world gathered here. All of them possessed extraordinary skills. But in the end, there could only be one winner. Only the one who survived until the very end and earned the highest score would receive the enormous prize of $25 million. This competition exposed the darkest sides of human nature, yet countless top assassins were still obsessed with it. Will Griffin was one of them, and fortunately, he passed the qualifying rounds and successfully made it to the finals. However, before the final match began, his family advised him to quit, especially his grandfather Nathaniel, a watchmaker who had once been a legendary marksman. Although he had retired for many years, he still understood the world of professional assassins well. He bluntly told Will that the contestants in the finals were not ordinary people and that his petty tricks would be useless against top assassins. At this moment, however, Will was blinded by the joy of reaching the finals.
This is my time. I'm gonna win.
Very quickly, the competition entered the final match, which was broadcast live. Distinguished guests from all over the world were present to witness the birth of the champion. Out of concern for his grandson, Nathaniel also came to the VIP seating area. He met the organizer of the tournament, Anton, a man who could come up with such a bloody competition, even treating it as entertainment and allowing others to place bets. Certainly, there was something twisted in his mind. This was also why Nathaniel did not want Will to continue participating. He feared accidents could happen during the competition, and indeed his fears were not unfounded.
Competitors, get ready.
Once the competition officially began, all the contestants fought with everything they had. They killed relentlessly, just to claim the final prop and stand on the winner's podium. Among them, an assassin named Corgan stood out. Wearing a monk's robe, he acted with extreme ruthlessness and decisiveness. He quickly eliminated many contestants and was just one step away from reaching the final prop. More and more VIP guests placed their bets on him, seemingly certain that he would be the ultimate winner. However, at that very moment, a dark horse suddenly appeared. It was Will, known as the Rookie Black Horse. Corgan, caught off guard, could only hide behind cover, and did not dare to show his face. Seeing this, a VIP guest immediately changed his mind and shifted his bet to Will. Nathaniel, who had been watching the match closely, let out a sigh of relief and even loudly urged others to change their bets. However, Corgan was the champion Anton had predetermined. How could he allow any surprises to happen? Just as Will was about to deliver a fatal blow, Anton pressed a special button in his hand. Immediately, the gun in Will's hand suddenly misfired. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Corgan stepped out from behind the pillar and took down Will in the VIP area. Cheers erupted. Corgan, living up to expectations, claimed the final prop and stepped onto the podium of glory. Those who had bet on him earned a small profit, while Anton, the organizer, won big. Almost everyone was satisfied with this outcome. But Nathaniel, who had witnessed his grandson's death with his own eyes, was consumed by rage. Once a legendary marksman, he only needed a glance to realize Anton had tampered with the match. Just as he was about to find Anton to take revenge, he was stopped by his companion Peter, who advised him not to act on someone else's turf. Amid the resounding congratulations, Nathaniel silently made up his mind. He would definitely avenge his grandson Will, who had died unjustly. And so time passed quickly. 1 year later, a new assassin tournament was about to begin. To ensure his revenge plan went smoothly, Nathaniel summoned 3 allies a month in advance: his granddaughter Sam, his close friend Peter, and Sam's boyfriend Steve. After discussion, the group decided that this time, they would not only take revenge, but also survive until the very end in the sea of blood. They would expose and eliminate Anton, the man behind it all. They would put a complete end to this twisted killing competition. At present, the only way was to make Anton go bankrupt, because once he could not pay the enormous prize money, others would deal with him before the group could. But this was not an easy task. However, Nathaniel had already thought of a countermeasure. He planned to invite an outsider to help. That man's name was Jimmy, a close friend of Will when he was alive. Moreover, he owed a large sum of money and desperately needed the prize money to repay his debt. Surely he would not refuse their offer. After that, Nathaniel assigned tasks to the others.
You, Samantha, since you were former Special Forces, you'll help look after Jimmy. You, Steve, since you're one of the finest corporate mercenaries, you'll help look after Sam and Jimmy.
At the same time, Sam's grandmother would also go with her. One should not underestimate this silver-haired old lady. When she was young, she was an undercover agent, best at disguise, and seeing through people's hearts. On Anton's side, upon learning that Sam and her grandmother had registered to participate, he indeed took notice as expected. He ordered his subordinates to stay alert and keep an eye on the two of them. Not long after the pre-match banquet was held as scheduled, contestants from all over the world gathered. Seeing the famous infiltrator Judy appear, Corgan took the initiative to come over and greet her. But unexpectedly, at that moment, Sam, who was standing beside her, bluntly declared that she would definitely kill him. It was to avenge her brother, Will. However, these harsh words had no effect on Corgan. He politely said goodbye to Helen and turned to leave, clearly not taking this arrogant girl Sam seriously. At the same time, Mike had met Jimmy. The bald man in front of him wearing black-rimmed glasses clearly had no strength at all. Seeing this, Mike felt a bit uneasy. If he wanted to quit, it was not too late now. But just as Nathaniel had said, the large debt threatening Jimmy's life meant that at this moment, he could only pin his hopes on the tournament. Mike wanted to say more, but at that moment, Anton entered the banquet hall with his bodyguards. He used a seductive tone to introduce this assassin hunting game to all the contestants, turning it into an arena for the strong.
I look around this room, and I know one thing. You are not just here for the money.
But the money helps.
It certainly does, you arrogant prick.
People say that this contest is barbaric. And to them, I reply, so what? In the Roman Colosseum, people gather to watch men fight to the death. Chariot races in Constantinople offered plebes the opportunity to watch drivers risk their lives, all for the thrill of the competition. That thrill requires skill and passion. You people have that passion.
Yeah.
We do.
And you are willing to die for it. I ran the competition because I shared that passion, that burning desire to be the best. So, I ask you to raise your glasses and to join me in a toast to being the best.
Being the best.
Most of the contestants were brainwashed by his words and eagerly raised their glasses to toast him. Anton appeared very satisfied with this scene, so after finishing his speech, he did not hurry to leave with his assistant Ella. Instead, he sat in a corner to observe the victims of this season. At that moment, Mike at the bar caught his attention, a top assassin showing great interest in the seemingly bewildered rookie Jimmy. This interesting combination immediately sparked Anton's curiosity. The next morning, after all, the contestants had arrived at the restaurant for breakfast. Anton stood in the surveillance room, monitoring their every move. As he had predicted, Mike cared greatly about Jimmy, even promising to protect him throughout the competition. Hearing this, Anton immediately signaled to Ella beside him to raise Jimmy's black market betting odds to 100 to 1. With his understanding of Mike, any promise he made would surely be fulfilled at all costs. Therefore, Jimmy had a high chance of surviving until the finals, and Anton could also take the opportunity to earn a large profit. A short while later, the loudspeaker in the restaurant announced for all contestants to quickly take their designated positions. The first round was about to begin, and the distinguished guests who came to watch took their seats one after another. Nathaniel and Peter, disguised as wealthy men, entered the hall. After learning that Jimmy's odds had been changed to 100 to 1 on the large screen, Nathaniel immediately understood what Anton was planning. This also meant that their current plan was progressing very smoothly. However, he still appeared calm, enthusiastically, chatting with the people around him, and quickly befriending two rich men. From them, he obtained a great deal of information about Anton. Just as everyone was chatting enthusiastically, Ella suddenly began introducing the contestants. Among them was not only last season's champion Corgan, but also many powerful new faces. Each one was an elite among elites, proficient in various types of weapons. Before the audience could regain their composure, Ella announced another shocking piece of news. For the first time, this season's tournament would be held outdoors. Anton had gone all out, securing 10 full streets for the contestants to freely unleash their abilities. He even allowed them to kill civilians solely to create a more intense and thrilling sensory experience. However, it was important to note that weapons had been hidden throughout the competition area. Only upon finding them would contestants be permitted to use them, and all points would come entirely from the cards scattered on the field.
When a token is found, the round is over. For each token, a competitor earns an additional 200 points. There will be a half-hour rest period between each round. There is a 6-hour clock, with a maximum of 2 hours per round. Whoever has the most points wins the grand prize of $25 million.
As soon as she finished speaking, the contestants were led by staff into the competition area, one by one. 30 seconds remained before the tournament would officially begin. But before the countdown was over, one contestant tried to cheat by moving ahead of time. As a result, he was immediately shot in the head by a sniper hiding above. The sudden gunshot officially marked the start of the tournament. After the announcement ended, everyone quickly scattered throughout the arena. Anyone who found hidden weapons first would have the advantage of taking the lead. All of the contestants' actions were being closely observed by the VIP guests. They evaluated each person's strength and chose the contestant they believed in to place their bets. At the same time, in the arena, the contestants began finding weapons one after another. These tools were diverse, including both guns and melee weapons. Jimmy, however, only managed to find a wooden stick. But just as he was still fumbling with the stick, Mike suddenly appeared at the end of the street, approaching with an imposing aura. Seeing this, Jimmy obediently handed the stick to him. Unexpectedly, right after that, Mike directly knocked Jimmy to the ground. He declared that he would smash Jimmy's kneecaps and eliminate him from the game immediately. Seeing this scene, several VIP guests immediately placed bets that Jimmy would be eliminated. Anton was also stunned. Hadn't Mike promised before the match to protect Jimmy until the end? What was he trying to pull now? However, the raised stick did not come down. Not only did Mike return the weapon to Jimmy, but he also turned around and reached into a puddle on the ground, pulling out a hooked spear. This was the keen observation ability of a top mercenary. He then signaled for Jimmy to follow him, declaring that if they wanted to win in the end, they had to take the initiative to attack. At the same time, Helen, who had only found a slingshot, also demonstrated extraordinary strength. With just 2 steel balls, she easily eliminated a contestant and conveniently seized the opponent's crowbar. The VIP area instantly erupted in cheers, and the betting continued with growing enthusiasm. Jimmy gradually disappeared from the guests' view. Given the current situation, no one believed that a weak and easily bullied rookie could possibly win, especially as more and more contestants found weapons. Brutal massacres continued to unfold in the arena. Corgan, last season's champion, was still the leading contender for the title. His attacks remained ruthless, and after each kill, he never forgot to use the victim's blood to draw a cross in prayer. This scene strongly impacted the audience's senses, making the atmosphere in the broadcast room even more intense. The thrill-seeking wealthy crowd felt no respect whatsoever for human life. In another development, Mike and the others had successfully regrouped. They moved quickly through the streets, carefully searching for the gold-plated signs left by the organizers. This was an important way to obtain the cards. Unexpectedly, the first person to spot a sign was the short man, Tim. However, just as he was about to act, Corgan suddenly appeared and snatched it away. But there was someone else behind him. At that moment, a figure leapt onto the ladder like lightning. It was Jimmy, the man no one had paid any attention to. Moreover, with Mike and the others protecting him, Corgan did not dare to act recklessly. However, news of the sign quickly spread to the other contestants, and within minutes, a large number of armed assassins had gathered there. At this time, Sam, skillfully wielding her crowbar, also caught the attention of the VIP guests. Amid the chaos of assassins, Jimmy took the opportunity to approach the gold sign. Seeing that he was about to obtain his first card, a man on the floor below immediately raised a steel gun to launch a sneak attack. But Mike shot through his arm. Thus, Jimmy safely claimed his first card. All the cameras immediately focused on him. However, the VIP area was filled with groans. Except for Nathaniel, who had secretly placed a bet on Jimmy. Everyone else had lost in the first round. Nathaniel's move quickly caught Anton's attention. Learning that Nathaniel had just of Nathan C. earned $10 million, he hurriedly ordered Ella to lower Jimmy's odds to 1-1. The first round officially ended. Everyone stopped fighting according to the rules and waited for the arena to be cleared before the second round began. But unexpectedly, at that moment, a white-haired assassin grew more and more furious as he thought about what had happened. He sought out Helen, the oldest person on the field, and declared that he would kill her to vent his anger. Then he snatched a grenade from a staff member. At this point, Helen had already discarded her weapon and could only panic, fleeing into a car parked on the street. However, the grenade rolled under the car and exploded violently. The white-haired assassin was also immediately sniped on the spot for violating the rules. On the screen, Nathaniel witnessed the entire incident, his heart aching as if being torn apart, his body trembling uncontrollably. He never imagined Helen would die such an unjust death. Just then, Anton came over of his own accord. He asked why Nathaniel had placed a bet on Jimmy. Overwhelmed with grief, Nathaniel had no mood to deal with him. He merely answered that he had placed the bet casually at the time, without thinking about winning or losing. Anton clearly did not believe him. But at that moment, Ella, the female assistant, unexpectedly stepped in between them and called Anton away. She prevented him from continuing to probe. It turned out that moments earlier, the logistics staff had discovered the reason Tim, the short man, had been able to find the gold sign so quickly. His glasses were a cheating device. Thus, he too was eliminated for violating the rules. In another development under Anton's provocation, Nathaniel firmly continued to bet on Jimmy. Seeing this, Anton smiled with hidden meaning, thinking his goading plan had succeeded. He had no idea he had already fallen into the trap Nathaniel had carefully set. Very soon, the second round officially began. In this round, contestants were only allowed to use melee weapons. There was no warm-up or dramatic build-up. Immediately upon entering the competition area, an intense confrontation broke out. The massacre lasted nearly half an hour, and only ended when someone successfully claimed the round 2 card. According to the pre-arranged plan, Jimmy deliberately lost in this round. It seemed this would completely erase Anton's suspicions, but unexpectedly, he learned Nathaniel's true identity. And the one who had revealed that secret was none other than Peter, the comrade Nathaniel trusted the most. In a desperate situation, Nathaniel decided to go all in. He directly placed a $1 million bet at odds of 1 hour, 1 minute that Jimmy would be the final winner. At first it was merely a gamble, but unexpectedly, this goading tactic worked on Anton. As expected, he agreed to the wager, though his assistant Ella felt uneasy, sensing that things were not as simple as they seemed. Even so, Anton stubbornly insisted on doing as he pleased. He had clearly been provoked by Nathaniel, to the point of losing all rationality. Very soon, the competition reached the final round. The armory was open to all contestants, but each person was allowed to take only 1 gun and 2 magazines. Before the match officially began, Mike reminded Jimmy again and again that once he entered the arena, he should immediately find a safe place to hide. He would come for him at the last moment. When the 10-second countdown ended, all the contestants removed their blindfolds. In the blink of an eye, countless corpses were sprawled across the ground. Remembering Mike's instructions, Jimmy immediately sought cover the moment gunfire erupted. However, the assassin Jam relentlessly pursued him. Sam tried to come to his rescue, but was blocked by a steel door. To make matters worse, after dealing with 2 assassins behind her gun suddenly jammed. Fortunately, Mike arrived just in time to provide cover. But at that moment, Jimmy came face to face with Corgan. Anton, closely monitoring the situation in the arena, immediately wanted to use the same trick as last year. Strangely, no matter how many times he pressed the control button, Jimmy's gun could not be disabled. Jimmy even pulled the trigger first, shooting the gun out of Corgan's hands. Even more surprising, Jimmy did not take the opportunity to finish Corgan off, instead leaving him to the curly-haired woman Lauren. It turned out she had also entered the competition to seek revenge. Then Jimmy turned toward the camera, removed his black-rimmed glasses, and revealed a sly smile. At the same time, Lauren and Corgan began their confrontation. No one expected that this seemingly frail woman would possess such strength. With just a dagger, she easily took down the previous season's champion, Corgan successfully avenging the old monk who had died at his hands. The VIP area instantly fell silent. Even more surprising was that Jimmy, who had always been under Mike's protection, turned out to be a master himself. He fought as if he were merely playing, and even when Mike and Sam hurried over to help, they could only follow behind him and play supporting roles. When he ran out of ammunition, Jimmy did not panic. He simply picked up a fallen contestant's gun and continued attacking. Even in close combat, he was by no means inferior, and he even cleverly pretended to be a corpse to launch a surprise attack. The battle raged dramatically, from inside the building to the streets outside. The atmosphere in the VIP lounge reached a fever pitch. The tycoons who had placed their bets in line with Nathaniel were so excited, they were left speechless. At that moment, Jimmy spotted the gold sign. He immediately rushed toward that shop, only to find someone had arrived before him. But it didn't matter who it was, killing them would solve everything. That assassin clearly had not seen Jimmy's ferocity earlier, and still thought he was the timid, cowardly rookie. He even had the leisure to mock him. What he didn't know was that Jimmy was stalling for time, waiting for Mike and Sam to arrive. Once they did, the 3 coordinated flawlessly to kill him, successfully claiming the final card. And so, under Nathaniel's masterful planning, Jimmy became the champion of this new season of the killing tournament. Anton also lost everything. Amid the cheers of the guests, his face turned pale as he returned to his office, preparing to take the remaining cash and flee. But just as Nathaniel had predicted, once Anton went bankrupt, he would be in a difficult situation. Even if they did not personally seek him out for revenge, the tycoons who had not received their betting payouts would come for him. At the same time, Nathaniel and the others had already begun their celebration. The unbelievable part was that Helen, who had supposedly died in the explosion, was actually alive. Faced with Sam's incredulous gaze, Helen proudly said that for a top spy, faking death to escape was her specialty. It turned out that everything had been part of Nathaniel's plan. This allowed Helen to take the opportunity to slip into Anton's office and replace his weapon control device. Once everything had been arranged, Peter pretended to betray Nathaniel. Believing he had certain victory, Anton did not hesitate to agree to the bet with him. In addition, Jimmy was actually a former Special Forces soldier from the same unit as Will. His solo combat capabilities were naturally not to be underestimated. And the biggest surprise in the entire plan was Anton's assistant. She was actually Will's girlfriend and had been cooperating with Nathaniel from the very beginning. Thus, each person in this plan played a role in a script only they knew, and every one of them executed their mission flawlessly. This was the true key to their victory. And with that, the movie ends. If you're interested, you can watch the original version. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed it, please give me a like and a subscribe.